appreciated the little workshop that you did for us because that was really useful to all our attendees. We have our last speaker for this event. She's an avid painter and enjoys practicing yoga and spending time with her family. She consciously engages in activities that sharpen the right hemisphere of her brain, particularly essential when working in an industry not renowned for its creativity. So, while this lady does all these lovely things, what do you think she does for a living? Can anybody guess? No, not fair. We're not going to ask you. Well, Alexandra, and I have to ask you again whether I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Timotheadi? Okay, wonderful. Is a private banker. Yes, she deals with all loads and loads of money. And she deals in very complicated financial structures. And she deals with high net worth clients. And she deals with a lot of people in Europe, which is full of regulations and laws. So she is highly qualified and she is highly experienced because to be operating in that environment, you really need to know your job. But besides that, what was very interesting is in the morning when we had our first session, there was one person, namely her, who kept nodding knowingly when Dr. Anton was talking all about this brain stuff. And then I realized she's done her BSc. So she's not only a banker, not only done stuff with investments, but she also has a science background. And she paints, wow, amazing. Come on, sweetheart, tell us what you do.
Thank you very much. So, but can I also present to move to there? Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. You'll be glad to know that I'm the last speaker. Nevertheless, it's been a wonderful symposium, and thank you so much, Edwin, and anyone who has suggested and brought my name up to participate in the symposium. Thank you. And especially a big thank you for letting me slightly change the topic into something that's a bit more close to my heart, which is diversity in the workplace. And I would like to very briefly cover cultural and gender diversity. The impact of living in one of the world's most inspiring countries, I think it's very strong and everyone can feel it. We've had some amazing people today from the Emirates that gave us fantastic presentations. So we all know, even the ones that are visiting, that this place tries to be the best in everything it does. So we don't really have an excuse to be complacent leaders because everyone around us is really, really trying to make this place one of the most amazing countries in the world. But for that, from the government, in order for that to pass through to our companies and to our employees, we need to work very hard. First of all, we need to overcome our personal limitations. We need to be the best leaders we can be. We need to demonstrate emotional maturity and discipline and avoid the home bias. By home bias, I mean this behavior that everyone has of favoring someone that we feel is closer to us. And we've all been guilty of favoring someone from the same city or the same country, the same ethnic background, and so on. But in order to be the best leader we can be, we have to make decisions based on discipline, and we need to make sure these are the best decisions for our company and keep the emotions out. We also need to instill gender and cultural diversity as part of our company's values, which I understand it's easier said than done, but later on, I have a small methodology to go through with you. And to see the bigger picture, we need to make it part of our corporate social responsibility strategy. I think in order to encourage people to embrace and accept different, we have to set the example, and we need to show them that different is not just good, but brilliant. And I was very emotional when I saw Sasha before. There couldn't have been a better person up here, because she's the essence of what my little talk is all about. And we all know that innovation certainly doesn't come from a room full of people where everyone is patting each other on the back with any opportunity and agreeing with each other. So we need to challenge the status quo when it comes also to the diversity of our companies. I'm not gonna mention any statistics or figures or anything like that. Even though there is overwhelming research, if we read Harvard Business Reviews and all the business journals, that companies that have managed, they've had the conviction and they've managed to achieve cultural and gender diversity, they're clearly outperforming their peers. But to be honest, I think if all of us open our eyes, we'll see examples of it every day. Diversity goes hand in hand with gender diversity. And if we want to expand it further, cultural equality goes hand in hand with gender equality. And a lot has been said and a little bit has been done in order to attract and keep women in the workforce after the family responsibilities start. And what always makes me wonder when I go to conferences around the world is how can people talk about the issue of a global aging workforce when half of the world almost is sitting in the sidelines? It's an unbelievably underutilized pool of talent that hasn't been tapped. And I think about it, and sometimes the answer seems so clear and so easy to grasp, and some other times it's just so complex because of all the social preconceptions that we have about women and their abilities, especially in the workplace. Companies, however, that have managed to achieve a high percentage of female employees are clearly doing very well in their industries. I started exploring that subject when I was actually doing my master's in London at King's College, where my thesis was about finding out whether there were different managerial styles between female and male employees of a multinational company, Unilever actually. I had the opportunity to interview a lot of people and gather questionnaires, and the results were really overwhelming. There are a lot of differences, and since then there is a lot of academic research, and I've seen a very big repetition. I've seen a repetitive pattern also in my industry in terms of how different are women in the way they manage their employees and their colleagues. The main differences that have come up, and I have also researched, are mainly the holistic way of managing and leading their teams. Women employ mostly soft power. This is a term that I've seen on the Harvard Business Review, and I think it is, in a way, it summarizes everything that women is all about. They're very powerful, but it's not a in-your-face power. It's a soft power, nevertheless very effective power. They also aim to be role models for their teams. They exhibit more empathy and understanding. And even though they are results-oriented, this is not their sole focus. They often aim to develop and mentor the people they work with. I wish I had more time to talk about many examples that I know and I've read about of females in the industry, and surprisingly even in industries that are not traditionally female-oriented or dominated, such as the automotive industry. And it always comes to my mind that amazing team of female automotive designers in Toyota, where they designed a car where the back doors opened in such a way that made it so much easier for families to get the things inside the cars. And this became one of the best-selling models of Toyota and perhaps of all cars in Japan. All because the female designers had a different perspective, the perspective of the automotive designer, but also the perspective of the mother. So the conclusion, I think, is clear to everyone. We really need, to employ more women in our companies, and they will in turn provide the support for more female joiners, because women also need role models. And that, if you see, the title of my presentation is The Power of Diversity and Inclusion. Anyone that stands alone, even if it's the most amazing, most innovative, even if it's a genius in the company, will be marginalized, because it's, again, human nature not to listen to people that are different. So the more women, they will attract an even higher number of women in any industry. So inclusion being the key principle, and this will help us to sustain the cultural transformation we seek. Our corporate and social mindsets need to change for that to happen. Great leaders start with themselves. We saw today some amazing ladies and gentlemen that are true leaders. And I think we can clearly say that these people have transformed a lot of lives, their employees, compatriots, expatriates, anyone who has listened to them and has shared their passion. But in order to be great leaders, we will need all our courage and all our influence in order to create a corporate culture of openness and acceptance. We need to listen deeply and respect, but truly respect, differences. Another very important tool that I found very useful is to find middle managers that are well respected and they share our vision, who will help us to pass through the remaining network of the company. I mean, obviously we cannot do everything alone, and some of the people here, they're dealing with companies with hundreds or thousands of people. No two companies will start their journey from the same point. Each company's combination of heritage, industry, location, and aspiration is unique. Saying that, all companies are sharing a similar transformation journey, or should be sharing a similar transformation journey. It is our responsibility as leaders to be on the forefront of that journey and to make diversity the core of our company's values in order to accelerate that change. This way, we are creating a solid foundation with corporate values not easily copied by our competitors, and we make true talent the real source of our competitive advantage. This is one of my favorite quotes by Meryl Streep. I think she needs no introductions. Meryl Streep, who at the beginning of her career thought she wasn't pretty enough, and even though everyone said that she is the most talented actress in a generation, she thought that she wouldn't succeed in Hollywood. Nevertheless, thankfully she changed her mind. And now she has become an advocate and an empowered lady that I think also influences a lot of people around her, who says something I think is, for me, it's one of the most amazing things. What makes you different and weird, that's your strength. And this is what we need to pass on to our employees, that different, or what is called weird, is amazing, and we need to embrace it. And this is what will make us the best company and the best leaders, the most inspiring leaders these people are going to work with. And I would like to finish just with one sentence, that we are actually sowing the seed for a development, a major shift in social values by doing that. It is not just our corporate responsibility, but even more so our social responsibility to follow these and lead along these lines. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, madam. So what do we see as the most challenging aspects of an increasingly diverse banking community?
Well, as I said, people need to embrace the change, because the change, either they like it, either we like it or not, is happening. And there are more women in the workforce, and the world is becoming a global place. There are people traveling a lot, so they move from one country to the next. So we need to make sure that we are at the forefront of that. We need to make sure that our companies have the right HR strategies in order to hire the best talent. And I think it's amazing, because now the pool of talent is not just the pool of talent that exists in our country. We can go to the entire continent through the technology, or the whole world. So I think for our companies, this is a major advantage that's happening, not particularly a challenge or a disadvantage. That's
Thank you very much, Alex. For those people who don't know Alex, I know her quite well, and she's been doing an amazing job doing her small bit to empower women financially and to bring about a larger awareness in her own organization and for the ladies in the UAE. And also, she speaks very passionately about the subject. Please do continue doing so, because you really inspire us. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm going to take the mic over now. Sandy is really tired, I'm sure. And she's, I want to take the time to, firstly on behalf of my institution, thank each and every individual. Staying back for such a long time, it's all about learning at the end of the day. And, the maximum time you put in yourself in terms of learning, the maximum you could reap out of it. And on behalf of the company, I'd like to thank Sandy especially for, I think she worked harder than me over the last few days in terms of understanding each and every speaker profile and, jotting down points and everything. I'd really like to thank you, Sandy, and, look forward to working with you in the future as well. I'd like to thank all the speakers, our sponsors, our media partners. The CEO Club has been very supportive as well. We'd like to thank them. And Leadership Consultant Group, who has taken on a sponsorship title at the conference, and they have been instrumental in executing the conference, right? Because as you understand, every conference has a financial impact on any organization, and without the finances coming in to actually execute the conference, it's close to impossible. So I'd like to thank all the people who have actually generously come in and spent their time, speakers who have taken the time to make presentations. And it's a small house now, and there's a lot of coffee outside, there's some refreshments. If you've had a long day, you can interact and have a good time. And we have just one request before you leave. At the registration desk, we have Betty Scott, who's been there to help us out with the registration process. Request you to kindly meet her and just give her your country of origin, because there's a new law which is put in place in terms of when we have a conference, we need to know the details or jot down the details of every individual that comes in terms of nationality, address, telephone number, name, and company. So that's not something that I'm doing to build my database. I have that with me. That is correct. That is a requirement which has just recently come in. So request you to kindly do the needful. The other thing is we have our upcoming conference, which is going to be really, really fascinating for Alexandra, which is the Arab Women Leadership Summit. It's the 4th edition that we are doing it 4 years in a row, right? And the turnout for that is huge. And if you are keen, you can reach out to us. I'm sure you've been harassed with emails from us. So you have our email address. So you can reach out to us, and we'll send you more information for that specific conference. We have 10 speakers at this point in time, and I think by the end of this month, which is November, we should be having a fairly decent speaker panel built up by then. Right? Again, on behalf of our company, Mice Quotient, and the entire support staff, Saloni, and the people back home, thank you for your efforts, and especially thank you all for the time. Thank you.
Now, I have to say to everybody who's sitting here today, I want to know, do you have any brains in your head? No? Yes or no? No? Oh, wonderful. Sylvian, what have I produced? A brainless child? So, if you have brains in your head and you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any way you choose. Right? So, with that thought in mind, please go out, and if you never did, you should. These things are fun, and fun is good. So enjoy the rest of the evening. Remember, go out and put into practice everything that you learned today, and come back next year as a speaker.